Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the arena. Today we have the OG Delta 2019, and what a reputation it still has till this day. And to the right, its competitor, the Delta 2 2022. And what's different? Well, we will find out in this bout. We will go ahead and compare every little detail and then some on these two. So why don't we get this fight started? All right, guys. Well, I hope you liked the introduction. You know, at the end of the day, it won't be a fight and there won't be rounds, but I will tell you, I am going to go into some good detail. If you're thinking about buying the Delta 2, or maybe just thinking about picking up the Delta, look, these are the Deltas, and it actually sounds like a group from the 1960s. But let me talk a little bit more about Delta, because this isn't your average power station. I paid for my Delta, and yes, they sent me the Delta 2, all right? But I'll always be honest, especially in all of my reviews. Now, the OG Delta by EcoFlow really started a revolution, seriously. The OG Delta came out in 2019, and ever since then, many competitors have been trying to copy it. Tons of YouTubers have done reviews, and from what I've seen, they've mentioned that it's a pretty solid machine. I've been using the Delta since 2021, the original Delta, and it still performs well till this day. Now, the Delta 2 is a nice upgrade for sure. It's got that lithium iron phosphate battery, which will really last for years, and it's got a couple more things. So why don't we go ahead and get started? I'm going to bring up a slide so you can actually see what I'm going to be covering in this video. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, the gloves are smaller right now. I'm going to bring up a slide, and I'm going to go over what I'm going to cover in this video with my announcer voice, and then after that, I promise I'll lose it. So let's start off with what we're going to cover. We're going to cover cost differences, power capability, battery types, advantages and disadvantages, power test, which battery will last longer throughout the lifetime, is solar charging the same? We're going to compare connectivity, expansion, weight differences, warranty differences, unique features, and what do these guys include in the box? So we're going to go ahead and just go over design and layout. A little later, we're going to cover specs and everything else, okay? So as we look at the Delta and the Delta 2, the screen sizes are very similar. Let's turn these both on, and you'll really not find a difference in screen sizes, right? The same screen, the blue ring, etc. Now, as we look at USB, over here we've got, the 4 USB, and over here you've got the 4 USBs, right? We're going to go into specs a little bit later. We've got 2 USB Type-Cs. Here we've got 2 USB Type-Cs, and yeah, it's obvious those are 100 watt. You've got your power button here that actually turns on USB and DC, and this one just turns on the USB. Now your power button is a little bit more highlighted, a little easier to see in the dark. The older power button was a black power button. Now as we go over to the left of the unit, on the Delta, you'll see that, your fans, your pass-through, right? Very standard design. And then if we go over to the side of the Delta 2, very similar. Now, if we turn these around, it'll definitely change a little bit, because the Delta has your spot here for your XT60, your power plug, and obviously your overload protection. All right. Now, if we do the same thing with the Delta 2, you'll see that there's now an expansion battery port. So they don't have this on the side anymore. They now have it in the back. So let's take a quick look at the back, and you'll see here on the Delta, and let me turn the Delta 2 around. So the Delta's got 6 outlets, right? And then you've got 3 holes. you've got your AC on and off, and obviously your DC power button is in the front of the unit. Now if you look at the Delta 2, you've got the panel here, right? So they put the panel here, and you've got 6 outlets, 2 that are grounded, right? So interesting. Power button for AC, power button for your DC. So your DC has its own power button, your USB in the front has its own power button. Now if you compare the top of the unit, they're pretty much the same, right? I mean, this has got the old sticker that's been on there since 2021. I got this in the middle of the year and really have had no issues with it, which is pretty cool. Let's take a look at the bottoms real quick. So the bottom of the Delta is, pretty much going to be the same as the Delta 2. Obviously, this one's got a little bit of dog hair from Brooklyn, as much as I've tried cleaning it off. But the rubber, just so you'll know, goes from corner to corner to really protect wherever you put this, okay? So they've done a good job with that. And you know what? They continued it with the Delta 2. So the Delta 2's got that same rubber with a little bit of Brooklyn's hair, but that same rubber that goes from corner to corner. Looks like, by the way, that they added another leg here. So there's a lip here, another leg here, a little opening there for some reason. So a slight bit design change, but nothing major. And so these are very much alike until you start looking a little closer. One of the big differences also with the Delta and the Delta 2 is the Delta 2 actually has an app now. And what's the big deal about having an app? Well, number one, you can do firmware updates. So if they need to improve the unit in small ways, once the masses buy these units, then they can do so. And they do that from a firmware update. You can update your firmware on the app. You can connect to the app via Bluetooth. You can connect to the app via Wi-Fi. You can use a tablet or you can use a phone. But let's take a quick look at the app. Not long, but let's just take a quick look. So here's the app. As you can see, you can rename it. It shows you your charge status. I'm at 74% currently. My input, it'll show me if I'm charging an AC or if I'm charging, it's solar. It'll actually show me what the wattage is that I'm receiving. I can go to output. I can turn on or off the AC outlet, the car charging outlet, or my USB ports. The other thing I can do is I can go into my settings. I can, again, rename it. I can change so many different things. The other thing you can do too is you can check for firmware updates. As you can see, that little dot there tells me that there's already a firmware update. Lastly, you can even check the specs of your device to make sure that you know your limitations. And that's a really quick look at the EcoFlow app. Let's take some time now and go over some basics and some specs. So on the left side, I have the Delta 1300. Just so you'll know, it does come in another capacity with a different limitations. I did go ahead and buy the top of the line at that time. So the 1300 is a 1260 watt-hour battery. Now let's talk cost for a minute. MSRP is $1,399, but the unit is currently selling for $1,099. Now the Delta 2 on the right sells for $999. So you're getting a different unit, I will say, for $1,000. Now power, let's talk power. The Delta, and I'm just going to say Delta instead of 1300, is 1800 watts and it surges at 3300 watts with X Boost. Now the Delta 2 is 1800 watts and it surges to 2200 watts with X Boost. They're both pure sine wave inverters, so they're the cleanest you're going to get in a power station other than plugging in your devices and appliances into the wall. They both offer EPS. Okay, now EPS is similar to UPS except it is slower. So it wouldn't be something that you would plug, a server into or a computer that you're working on into, because you could lose that information. So EPS is helpful to have, but not as quick. Now let's talk battery type. On the left side, the Delta has an NCM lithium ion battery, and the Delta 2 has a lithium iron phosphate battery. Now, the Delta's capacity is 1,260 watt hours, so it does have a little bit bigger battery. Now, the Delta 2 is 1,024 watt hours, but keep in mind you can add on batteries. So we'll talk more about that, and I'll even show you the batteries. Life cycles. Here is a deal breaker in a lot of places here. So the life cycles for the Delta is 800 cycles, and then it goes to 80% plus. The Delta 2, you ready for this? 3,000 cycles, and then it goes to 80%. Think about that. I mean, that battery will last years and years. And let me tell you, one of the reasons why is because you'll have to maintain it. You can't just leave this sitting around plugged in at 100%. So just be aware and learn more about that. Now let's talk AC recharge time. So the Delta can recharge to 100% in 96 minutes if you plug it into AC. The Delta 2 is even faster now, 80 minutes to 100%. 80 minutes to 100%. So that's going to be a little faster. Yes, the battery is a little smaller, right? Now, Extreme will allow you to charge at 1,200 watts for the Delta, and Extreme will also allow you to charge the Delta 2 with 1,200 watts. Now, let's take a moment and talk about solar. So solar, the Delta is 400 watts, 10 to 65 volt, and 10 amp. On the Delta 2, it's 500 watts, so it can handle more wattage, 11 to 60 volt, and 15 amp. So if you compare solar, the Delta 2 actually went down in voltage just a little bit, but it went up in amperage. Now the amperage is going to help you if you can set your solar panels up in parallel. I did a detailed comparison on the Deltas, as you could see from the image on your screen. If you want to check that video out, I'll put the link up in the upper right-hand corner right now. If you don't want to and you want to continue with this video, don't worry. I'll put the link in the description. Let's talk about ways to power. So the Delta has 13 ways to power devices, and the Delta 2 has 15 ways. So let's review that. The Type-C ports on the Delta, you get two 60 watts. On the Delta 2, you get two 100 watts, and that's going to be really helpful when you have a laptop or a MacBook, right? Now, as far as USB quick charge, you get two 18 watt on the Delta and two 18 watt on the Delta 2. What about USB Type A? You get two 12 watt on the Delta and two 12 watt on the Delta 2. Now, concerning AC, you get 6 outlets on both of these units, right? The Delta is 1,800 watts, surging at 3,300 watts, and the Delta 2 is 1,800 watts, surging at 2,200 watts. As you can see, the Delta can actually handle more of a surge. Now, another difference we showed you earlier, don't forget, is you do get 2 grounded AC outlets on the Delta 2. Now, as far as DC ports, you get 1 car charger on the Delta. It's 13.6 volts, 8 amp. That'll give you about 108 watts. On the Delta 2, you get a 12.6 volt, 10 amp. That'll give you about 126 watts on the Delta 2. As far as barrel ports are concerned, you don't get any barrel ports on the Delta, but you get 2 of them on the Delta 2, and they're 12.6 volts, 3 amp. That'll give you 38 watts max. Concerning connectivity, you don't get any Bluetooth or any Wi-Fi on the Delta, but on the Delta 2, you do get Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Now, what about weight? On the left side, the Delta weighs in at 30.9 pounds or 14 kilograms. On the right side, the Delta 2 weighs in at 27 pounds or 12 kilograms, so it's a little lighter. As far as warranty is concerned, You get a 2-year warranty with the Delta, and the Delta 2 actually has an improved 5-year warranty because of that lithium iron phosphate battery. Now, let's also talk about what's included, and I'm going to pull this stuff out and show you. Let's go over what's included with these power stations. So with the Delta, you get an AC cord, you get a car charger, you get a solar cable, you get your quick start guide. If any of you guys remember the way this was packed, you even get a cover. Nice little cover, actually. All right. Now, with the Delta 2, you get a user guide, you get DC barrel plugs, you get a car charger, and your AC plug. You do not get a solar cable with the Delta 2. Let's now go over expansion, and we're going to start off with the Delta 2 expansion battery. That's the battery right next to it. Now, the Delta 2 expansion battery is 1,024 watt-hours. So when you add this to the Delta 2, which is 1,024 watt-hours, you get 2,048 watt-hours. Now, what happens is on the top, there's a storage compartment. This is where the cable is stored. You take out your cable, and let me show you how that connects real quick. And that's what it looks like with the battery connected. It's simply pushing one in here and one in here, and then you're ready to rock and roll with the extra capacity. One real nice thing about the Delta 2 is it's compatible with the Delta Max batteries. Now, what's the big deal there? Well, if you go out and you buy yourself a Delta 2 expansion battery, well, that is going to add an additional 1,024 watt-hours, or some people call it a kilowatt, right? Like the way you get billed at home. But did you know that the Delta Max battery, because it's compatible, has 2,016 watt-hours? If you add a Delta Max battery to a Delta 2, you get a total of 3 kilowatt-hours, or 3,040 watt-hours. And again, it uses that same cable, and it comes with it. When you buy a Delta Max battery, it comes with the cable that connects to the Delta 2. So here's a scenario. You went out and bought yourself the Delta 2 and an extra battery, and you were so glad you did, but the power has been out for a little longer than you like, and you need a little help. Well, guess what? EcoFlow made a smart generator that's dual fuel. It's propane or gas. Now the gas side can give you as much as 1,800 watts with a 1,900 watt peak. And the propane side can give you 1,600 watts with a 1,700 watt peak. And that wattage that generator will give you will recharge your Delta. And it comes with a 16-foot power cord. You leave this outside, and you can leave your Delta 2 inside. That is a really nice option, and again, not available for the original Delta. Well, it's time for a head-to-head power test. On the left, the OG Delta 1300. 1,800 watts, surge to 3,300. Now on the right, the Delta 2, the newest member of the family, 1,800 watts with a surge of 2,200. We're going to go ahead and start off with the OG on the left side, Delta 1300. So again, in the kitchen studio with the Delta 1300 with the Delta 2 standing by. I've got Brooklyn hanging out with us here, waiting for us to start this test. We're going to start off with two 700 watt chargers. All right. And we're just going to turn on the unit, which I think it's already on. Let me turn on the AC outlet in the back. Okay, the unit is on. And we're going to watch the wattage. All right, 500 watts so far. These two guys going. Almost 700 watts coming up now. I've seen 600 to 700 watts out of both of these chargers, so it just depends on what the EcoFlow will do. You know, there's no EcoBoost on this, or XBoost, I should say, because there's no app. But I do believe it does do some of that trickery with the voltage that you really can't change or turn off. So we're showing 840 watts now. Well, let's go ahead and plug something else in and see what we get. Maybe let me grab a heating gun. So I've got a heat gun. I'm going to have it on low, and then I'll have it on high. Right now we are at 847 watts. So let's go ahead and turn this on low and see what happens. We're showing 1236 watts or 38 watts. All right. And let's put this on high and see what we get. Definitely over 1,000. So 1234 watts showing on the screen. It's on high. We are now at 1966 watts. There's the high. And this guy is pretty hot, so it's kind of in the middle, away from everything, just in case. We're being very careful, and I do not recommend you do this at home. So 1967 watts. Let's try something else. 320 watt Ego charger. Let's go ahead and put the battery on, and then I got to put the heating gun back on. The heating gun is off. So that is on, and let's see where we go from 800. All right, all right, there we go. We're at 1,000 now. 1,030. Okay, 1,045. 1,056. 1,070. Wow. We're at 1,090 right now. Yep, there goes 1,100. No hiccups whatsoever. 1,100 watts. Let's put the heating gun on now, and I'm going to turn the gun on low. And watch this here. So, heating gun is on low. Coming to almost 1,500. Yeah, it's definitely doing something with the voltage, but the heating gun is running, which is interesting. It is warm as it's next to me. Well, let's throw this on high and see what happens. 2,200 and change. 2,232. All the chargers are running. And the heating gun. And again, I am being careful, folks. Again, do not do this at home. No issue whatsoever. I'm going to go ahead and add something else. All right, we have the 3 chargers on. The heating gun is off. Obviously, we want to keep that off for a moment. We're going to go ahead and add batteries to this charger. So right now, we're sitting at 600 and, let's see, 700. So I'm going to let that go up. I'm going to put a battery now. All right, 780. All right, 800. All right, I'm going to put a battery on one side for a moment there. All right. 950. 1,000. This one fully charged. I got to take it off. I'll put another battery on. Okay, we need that 700 watts. All right, here we go. So 700 watts, give or take. 320 watt here, and this is about 240 watts. So we are at 1,600 watts right now. All right, looks like we're hanging at 1630. Let's put the heat gun on low. All right, it's on. We're at 2000 now. Again, it didn't really do anything at 2000. It handled it like a champ. Think about it. This is the original OG 1300 Delta. All right, let's throw this on high now. All right, overload. Overload. Okay, I saw it say 2700 watts and then overload. Guys, I'll tell you, I'm still impressed. I'm going to go ahead and turn the heat gun off and do a reset real quick. All right, so let's go ahead and see again. You know, we've got 1300 and change. I'm going to go ahead and turn on the heat gun again. Let's turn that on. 17. All right, we're going to put it all the way up now. Now, we did lose this 300 watts because this is fully charged. But let's put it all the way up and see. All right, so listen, 2400 and change. It tripped, you know, 3300 with that X-Boost feature built into this thing. Ultimately, it lowers the voltage, you know what I mean? So you can't always get 3300. But hey, we did pretty darn good. Now, how would the Delta 2 do? So we've got the Delta 2 set up, all right? Orange button. That's how you can tell. We've got the app connected, and we're going to make sure X-Boost is off for now, all right? We're going to go into the settings. We're just going to turn on the AC outlet. So the two chargers start. So those guys should start up. All right. And then we're going to go ahead and, you know, we're going to plug in this charger because I think that was fair. We had all three of these plugged in. So, 1 second, let me plug this in. Okay, so I got all three chargers plugged in. We're getting 1200, 1300 watts. X-Boost is off, remember. So we're doing 1300 watts. Now we're going to go ahead and use the heat gun. That was the next thing we did before. So we've got 1354. It's still crawling up. All right, I'm waiting until it adjusts. So as you can see, when you turn off that X-Boost when you can, it's really showing you more of an accurate wattage. And then we'll do the same test with X-Boost on. All right, 14, 20, wow, still going up. 14, 30, okay, wow. All right, listen, we're going to turn the heat gun on low. We're at about 1440 right now. Let's put the heat gun on low. We're going to turn the heat gun on low. And we're at almost 1800 watts. I mean, obviously, if I put this on high, it's going to trip. I know that. But maybe I'll try something different. I'm going to leave the heat gun on low in a safe area. And I'm going to plug in this charger here. I'm going to use one battery. Let's see what happens. So far, 1780. All right, around 1800. All right. So again, we're around that 1800 range. It goes up and down a little bit. You've got all three chargers on and the heat gun on low. And let's go ahead and put a battery on the side of the unit. And as soon as I do it, I'm really going to just want to watch. All right, let's see. It's kicking on. 19, 20, 2000. 2000. Fluctuating. 21, 26. Well, listen, it's still doing a great job. I mean, right, as a 1800 watt power station. All right, I'm going to go ahead and take the battery off. I'm going to turn the heat gun on high. Let's take the battery off. I'm going to turn the heat gun on high. It's going to probably trip, guys, but, you know, we'll see. So we're going to go from low to high and see what happens. All right, 2500 and overload. That's okay. We knew that would happen. Well, I'll tell you, it did pretty darn good, considering. I mean, really. Time to go back into the settings now and turn on X-Boost. Here it goes. So X-Boost is now on. You heard the beep. We're going to turn on AC for now and do the test with X-Boost. So we've got the two chargers, right? They're starting up. We're going to go ahead and plug this in. All right, and then I'll come back and we'll take a look at wattage. All right, two chargers, actually three chargers right now. We're at 1300 watts. X-Boost is on. You can hear the fans on the chargers and the fan on this Delta. So 1300 and change. We got three chargers. And we're going to go ahead and plug in the heat gun and see what happens now, okay? So coming back and just watching wattage, we're going as high as 1460 right now with the three chargers. And this is plugged in now. We're going to put it on low and watch, all right? All right, low. Here you go. It's on low right now. 17, 1800. Okay. So 1770, 1800, kind of an up and down. And we're going to hit this switch. So we're 1800 high, and we're going to go on high now. Ready? It's on high right now. 2134. All right, so as you can see, X-Boost is doing its trick. The heat gun is heating up. It actually is pretty decently hot. And we're sitting at 2000. Now this tripped before, remember. Okay, now what I'm going to do now with X-Boost is I'm going to take, and look at that, it just showed 2200 watts a second ago. So I'm going to turn off the heat gun. I'm going to take this charger now, and I'm going to put a battery on it, and then see what happens. So we've dropped down to 1400 and change. I'm going to put this battery on this charger. Let's just watch that for a minute, and then we'll use the heat gun. I mean, now, guys, again, two chargers, another one, right? So this is 300 watts. These are like, supposed to be 700 watts, but probably more around 6. So we got 17. Wow, this is fluctuating again, that X-Boost. All right, so 1600 watts, 4 chargers. Batteries are getting charged pretty quick. Let's turn the heat gun on low. All right, on low right now, 2200, jumped real quick. All right, now it's 1700 and change. And I'm going to put the heat gun on high in a second. I'm just waiting to see. All right, let's put it on high. The heat gun is now on high. And what do we got? So you could see here that showing about 2000 watts running all 4 chargers, the heat gun, and hanging it out around 1950 to 2100 watts. That's pretty amazing. Again, you know, it'll allow you to run these. It drops the voltage in order to handle the wattage. Guys, very, very nice, huh? No problem whatsoever. Again, fluctuating 1950 to 2050 on the Delta 2. Nice, very nice. Wow, that was a power test, and I'm so glad that not only did the OG Delta shine, but you saw what the Delta 2 can do with and without X-Boost. Having that X-Boost on, in a lot of cases, and not all of them, but you saw, I mean, we were running almost, I mean, definitely 2700 watts or so, but because X-Boost was on, it allowed us to run all of these things. So guys, that was a good test. What do you think? Post a comment down below. Let me know what you think. But I'm definitely impressed, and I'll tell you, they've got a great reputation. All right, guys. Well, that was a fun comparison. And what do you think about the new Delta 2 versus the Delta? Pretty interesting, huh? That the Delta can hold up and do as well as it's doing years later, right? Well, if you thought this video was helpful in some way, or you just liked it, give us a thumbs up. It really, really helps the channel, by the way. And then if you're new to the channel, take a moment and subscribe. We'd love to have you as a subscriber and a family member. Share our video with your friends, your family, as well as in any chat rooms that you're in. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. Guys, thanks so much. Have a wonderful day. Hey guys, take a moment and give us a thumbs up. We'd really appreciate it. As you can see, Brooklyn, she's waving her tail for you. Take a moment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell and you'll get notified of new videos we come out with. Also, follow us and contact us on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. We'd love to have you. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.